Hello and welcome to a very fun video. I recently got to 100 subscribers on this channel. Thank you so much to everyone that has seen my videos and decided that they wanted to see more. It means a lot as someone starting out to know that other people see value in the silly little book videos that I make. So thank you so much for everyone who's come along, and I wanted to do something to kind of celebrate that landmark, something a little silly. I wanted to do some sort of challenge or TBR that I could do not only for 100 subscribers, but also looking to the future for 200 subscribers, 300 subscribers, and on and on. So what we're doing today is we're reading 100-page books for 100 subscribers. And I've actually already started this challenge, and I've been a terrible vlogger, and I've just been reading and not actually updating. So I'm going to tell you which books that I have that I've read and which books I have not yet read but plan to. So we have some interesting ones here. I started off by reading a highly anticipated book by one of my favorite authors, Matt Wesolowski. This is his book called Don't Call Mum. This is a tiny little book. The margins are quite big, and it's 113 pages. So this definitely reads like a very, very short novella. You can read it in like an hour, hour and a half, maybe. And this is about a young English man who's going home. He's a grad student. He's headed home for the holidays back to like a very small town in very north England. And he gets on a train and some weird things happen. I enjoyed parts of this, but I think that it needed more time to become what I think it could have been. I really liked the atmosphere that it was building. It really took its time getting to the creepy bits. So we didn't get to like the really creepy things until like 70, 80 pages in. But the problem with that is that by the time we built up all this suspense, there were like some weird things that happened, and then it just ended. And I was like, I don't actually know what happened. Like, it didn't explain what happened, so it was just kind of like a moment. Like, that was weird. So I don't know exactly how I feel about this. I gave it a 3 stars. I think the setting is really good. On this train, I feel like you could really like feel the setting. It did a good job of like picturing it, and I liked the character voices were done very well. That's something I really like about Wesolowski's writing, is his ways of writing character voice. You'll have to tell me if he's being naughty up there. I don't know if you can see him. He likes to wander around. When it just kind of ended without any explanation, because something very weird happens and then it's just done, I was like, that feels very unsatisfying. So that was a little frustrating, but it wasn't a bad story. It was just okay. I wish there had been a little more of it. A little bit of a meteor story, I think, would have been much stronger. And then I read The Moon is Down by John Steinbeck. This comes in at 115 pages, and I loved this. This is a story of a fictional town that is under Nazi occupation and how the people kind of fight back when the Nazis are telling them what to do. They live in a town where there's a coal mine, and the Nazis need to get the coal and ship it back to wherever they need it. And it's just a story about resistance. It's very short, but Steinbeck, just like Wesolowski, does character voice very well. I really cared for these characters. I like the way that he said so much in such a small amount of time. He really captures like a spirit of a town that we're just meeting. I read a John Steinbeck back in October, and I was actually a little disappointed in it overall. So this one felt like it was like back to form for Steinbeck, and this is actually one of my favorites of his that I've read overall. I would highly recommend it. And then the other one that I read today, and it's a big one in size, but the writing is actually in very small sections. This is The Electric State by Simon Stålenhag. Apparently it's a Netflix film. I didn't know that. But this is kind of like a graphic novel, only the writing is more like prose style, and then there are these big, beautiful drawings, paintings. I don't know exactly the medium. I guess paintings maybe. And this is a dystopian story all about this world where technology has advanced and people are kind of getting trapped into this like computer headset. I think we're led to believe it's like a VR headset that people just kind of get sucked into and forget to like leave, and maybe there's some more like nefarious stuff going on. I love the art and the vibe of this book. But again, as with Don't Call Mom, the ending is left so open. It was so unsatisfying because the whole story is very vague. What's happening. It's kind of like alluding to things. You're seeing a lot of things happening in the pictures that are like weird and interesting, but we're following this young woman and this little like droid thing driving across to the coast, the west coast of the United States. And so she'll be like driving past this and we'll be like sort of vaguely mentioning it and then just kind of moving on because they're just going past it. And so there's a lot of very vague things happening, but I thought we were building up to something. And then it turned out it had like a super vague ending where you don't know what's gonna happen with a very big plot point, and it felt very unsatisfying. It felt like an unfinished story, and I'm someone who doesn't mind a vague ending. I don't mind not knowing exactly how everything's gonna wrap up, but when you have a very vague story and it's just kind of like you're seeing all these interesting things and you're just kind of zooming past them, and then you get to the ending and you're like, okay, but what happens? Because there's no point if nothing happens. If you don't tell us what way it ends, it feels like the rest of the book is pointless because everything was building up to this and you didn't give us anything before we got to this point. So we need something at the end, right? So I'm obsessed with the art. I'll show you a couple more pictures that I really love. It has such a cool aesthetic, like this gloomy, dark aesthetic with then like these bits of like neon lights in it. I love it so much, but the story didn't feel finished. It didn't feel like a full story. It felt like the author had these ideas for pictures and kind of tried to write a story to go with them and then didn't know how to finish it. So this is a 3-star because I do think the art is worth it. It's not a very long read. You're going to read it in like an hour, but was it worth it? I don't know. So the next books that I'm going to read, I will actually vlog for you, so you actually get a vlog like I originally planned. I am going to be starting Out of the Silent Planet by C.S. Lewis. This is a 155-page book. This is the first in a trilogy. I've heard it's a little weird. I don't know much about it other than I think people going to another planet, like this is like a sci-fi from C.S. Lewis. I don't know if I'll like it because I've heard some weird things about it, but I would like to get to it because I have the trilogy. So like, I need to figure out if I like it or not. And then I picked this up at the library today. This is Run by John Lewis. This is volume 1, but this has been out for a while and I haven't seen that there are gonna be more. because John Lewis died in 2020. So I don't know if like anyone had any like story to go off of to continue, if they're gonna like publish any posthumously. I don't know. But this is kind of a follow-up to his trilogy March, which I would highly recommend. It's an autobiographical story about him during the civil rights movement. And this is just continuing the story of his life as he worked for equal rights for people of color in the United States. And I'm excited to read it. And because I don't think there's more coming out, I kind of feel like I can get to it now. And I don't have to worry about like waiting for sequels. And then the final book is one I've had on my TBR so long, and it was gifted to me by my sister, so I need to get to it. And that's Celtic Tales. She got me this beautiful edition, and it's just Celtic fairy stories, stories of enchantment. It's so beautiful. It has a beautiful green bookmark. It has the stories kind of set out by like type, like tricksters, the sea, quests, romance, and then these like lovely pages and lovely illustrations within that are in like a Celtic style. So I'm very excited to read this because I don't know many like Irish folktales, so I think it'll be really fun to read more of this. I do love Selkies. Selkies are a really fun Celtic folklore creature about women who like have seal skins and can like take them on, put them on and become seals, or take them off and become women who live on land. So I'm excited to read these, and I'll probably just kind of dip in and out of them throughout this. Those are all the books that I have read and plan to read. All right, I'm back because I've finished some other books. I read Why I Write by George Orwell. This kind of sent me into a bit of a slump because while I was reading this, which is set during World War II, when George Orwell is talking about fascism and the overtaking of governments and how people can like fight back against it and some of the things that we could do to make our systems better. The country that I live in, the US, is definitely having, if not a full fascist takeover, definitely we have an authoritarian, curious president, which is terrifying, to be honest. So I was kind of reading this and reading a lot of news, and there was a lot of crazy things happening, still is, but I'm not as much in a slump anymore. But this is a very good read. Like, this was really good. Most of it is this one like essay called The Lion and the Unicorn. I don't remember why it was called The Lion and the Unicorn exactly, but it was just kind of what I talked about George Orwell seeing, you know, in the midst of World War II, where they weren't sure if the UK was going to make it out of there. France had already fallen to the Germans, and the US, I don't think, had stepped in at that point because we were very late to that game. So George Orwell is kind of talking about like some of the things that can lead to a fascist takeover of a government, some of the things that make people want to support a fascist government, about how capitalism propped up Germany as it was building its army, how there were people like literally funding this army from Britain while they knew Hitler was getting ready to stage an attack. Like, they were literally forming and like sending like, or selling tin and like rubber and metal and other things that they would need to like build the army that they eventually built. And everyone knew what was going on in Germany. It wasn't a surprise when they attacked. And so it was like, why are we literally sending all this stuff there? Why are we selling to these people that are going to come attack us? Like crazy things like that. And so this was just a really interesting read. It's sad because George Orwell was kind of like talking about all these things, and he's like, you know what, it's a terrible time, but at least we're seeing them now so we can like change them for the future. And like, boy howdy, have we not learned our lessons about how authoritarian governments come to pass. We have not. So that made me a little bit sad and depressed. You know, you'd think after the things that people live through, we would know better, and we clearly don't. And the United States is a mess, and there are a lot of people that are in danger because of our government, like people who should be safe within our government are not, and it's chaotic. And this, like, reading it, it was both cathartic and like, ugh, I thought we would be doing better than you were back then. Like, I thought we learned our lesson about World War II. So, this was good. Just hard to read right now. And then, I can't remember if I talked about it yet or not, but I read Run by John Lewis. This is, I'm guessing, the only book in the series that's going to be published after John Lewis's passing. I can't find anything to, like, see if there's going to be more, so I think maybe they thought there was going to be more, but then after he died, they're not doing any more. But this is really good. This just follows like the civil rights actors after the civil rights movement, you know, kind of caught some footing, and it's like, okay, how do we go from here? What do we do? How do we do it? I like learning about protest movements. That's one of the biggest powers that we have in the country of the United States as a people, is to protest. And we've had a lot of those rights carved away since this time. Like, the police were very hostile towards the protests that were happening here. And you kind of see the same thing today. I've learned a lot about protesting in the United States, of how like police will like corner a group of protesters and then say, hey, you need to leave, but then they're like boxing them in so they can't leave, and then they're like, oh, you didn't leave, so now you're under arrest. Like, our country has an issue with protesting because it's powerful, and a lot of the people in power have recognized that and done a lot to diminish our power protesting. But like, reading the whole March series and then reading this, it just like kind of reinvigorates how important it is, because if the powers that be weren't afraid of it, then that would mean it was meaningless, but they are afraid of it, and that's why we handle protests the way that we do in the United States, which is we try to break them up when they happen. So I really enjoyed reading this. I also enjoy reading about how messy these like protests and movements can be, like people disagreeing, people wanting, you know, one person to be in charge. Do we need violent protests, peaceful protests? Like, they were talking about all these things, and it was just really, it's like comforting to know that like no one has it all together. They're all trying to figure it out, and often it's messy. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it as well. And it's good to know more about history from like eyewitnesses of a lot of these things. So it's really good. If you haven't read the March series, I would highly recommend it, and then definitely read this one. Hello, I am here to wrap up my 100-page books for 100 subscribers. Unfortunately, we're wrapping up on a DNF. I didn't get to some of the other books that I thought I was going to read. I tried this one, and I ended up not liking it. And with it being short, I still only got like halfway through, and I just wasn't having a good time, and decided to just be done with it. So this is Out of the Silent Planet by C.S. Lewis. This is an adult book, a sci-fi book about a man who's like kidnapped and taken on a spaceship to another planet, and he's on that planet and is trying to get home, I guess, is the main trajectory of the the plot, but it just wasn't very interesting. I was finding the main character to be quite dull in just his ways of thinking about things. I don't know. I wasn't having a good time with it. And the fact that it was only 130 some pages and I didn't want to continue, I was like, I think this is a sign that I can just not finish this and be fine with it. So I'll be getting rid of this one and the rest of the series, and that's not always a bad thing. I've had this series on my to be read list for quite a while, and I didn't enjoy it. So I can now make some space. So I want to thank you again so much. If you have joined, I know I have had like a couple people join since we hit 100 subscribers. Thank you so much for your support and for showing me that you want to continue watching the silly book videos that I make. I really have a fun time putting together all my videos and just sharing my love of books with all of you. And thank you so much for subscribing and tagging along with me. I will see you in the next video. Bye.